Do overwhelming and intrusive thoughts during your spiritual awakening make you feel stressed out and like you're losing control? When I had my own awakening, intrusive, disturbing, and distressing thoughts seemed impossible to stop until I discovered one powerful yet simple practice that calmed my mind, allowed me to take back control, and now helps many of my clients as well. So in this video, I'm going to show you this easy and effective technique that will tame your negative thoughts and quiet your mind. To start, let me show you what causes these intrusive thoughts in the first place. So your awakening can be compared to a blizzard. Imagine that you're walking down a beautiful street in wintertime and it's nice and peaceful, it's snowing, but then suddenly, half an hour later, this blizzard rolls in. Winds pick up, it's snowing like crazy, you can't see anything around you. I mean, you can't even see 2 meters in front of you. There's no visibility and it feels like chaos and you feel disoriented. This is what's happening inside of you right now as you're going through a spiritual awakening. It's as if this blizzard has rolled into your life internally and externally and disturbed the normal functioning of your mind. So before your awakening, you might have been coasting through life on autopilot, living more superficially, not questioning your purpose, not diving deeply into your emotions or your behaviors. Your relationships maybe were a little bit more surface level. It was safe, it was calm, and it was predictable. But now your awakening has started, this blizzard has rolled in, and it feels like your entire life has been flipped upside down. Everything that you've ignored, suppressed, never really looked at, like your fears, your unresolved emotions, your toxic behaviors, negative beliefs. It's now being shaken up and you can't orient yourself. And with this internal upheaval comes intrusive, disturbing, and negative thoughts. They show up as voices in your head saying things like, you're going crazy, you're losing your mind, you messed up your life, you are going insane and you need to be locked up, you're a victim of life, you'll never change, you'll be stuck in this suffering forever. These thoughts can feel debilitating and it's like mental warfare that never seems to end. But to show you how to fix this, I first have to show you the 2 main reasons why you're experiencing intrusive thoughts in the first place. Imagine you're having an argument with a close friend, and let's say that it's a few years before your awakening. And your friend says something to you that triggers you, and then immediately your mind floods with thoughts like, why did they say that? Wow, they're being so selfish. They never listen to me. They don't care about my feelings. Are they even a good friend? At this stage, you have these thoughts and you're completely identified with these thoughts. You believe that they're absolutely true and you react emotionally. So maybe you snap back, you storm off, or you withdraw from the friendship. You never pause to question or even notice these thoughts. You simply become them. Now, fast forward to during your awakening and you're in another disagreement with the same friend, and once again they say something that triggers you and immediately the familiar negative commentary appears in your mind. They're doing it again, they're being selfish, they're being inconsiderate, they're not listening to me. These are the thoughts that you're having. But this time something different happens. You notice these thoughts as they arise, you become aware of them, almost like you're stepping back and observing yourself in real time. And then you might think, wait a second, I'm thinking that my friend is being a bad friend and I'm jumping to conclusions. I don't actually have to believe these thoughts. Do you see the difference? Because before your awakening, you were completely identified with your thoughts. You believed every word that the voice in your mind said without question. And the voice inside your head was you, and you were the voice inside your head. But now, during your awakening, you've become aware of this voice. So you've realized something incredibly important. You are not the voice inside your head. Who you really are, your true essence, your bigger awareness, your consciousness, your higher self, is separate from this constant mental chatter, this so-called monkey mind. So now when thoughts arise, instead of simply having thoughts and believing them, you become the awareness observing yourself having these thoughts. I know it's a little bit trippy. So the first reason why you're suddenly struggling with intrusive thoughts is precisely because you're now actually aware of your thoughts. You're no longer just blindly accepting the voice in your head as you and as the truth, but you're the consciousness observing them. You sometimes might be hyper aware of them, but actually you are now aware of all the thoughts that you're having, and that can be overwhelming and distressing. So your heightened awareness of your thoughts is part of why they feel so overwhelming and hard to manage. But there's a second and even more important reason you're experiencing intrusive thoughts. Let me visually illustrate the second reason for you. And this is my favorite way to show my clients what is happening within their mind during a spiritual awakening. I want you to take a look at this glass of water. So this glass of water represents your awareness. And notice that there is a little bit of mud settled at the bottom, and this mud represents your trauma, your pain, your past experiences, your deep-seated beliefs, and the shadow aspects of yourself. So all of these things have existed here at the bottom of your awareness, quietly, undisturbed. But the water here at the top, it represents your conscious awareness, right? So both of these things, the water and the mud, have always existed together, but they never mixed. But as your awakening begins, this is what happens. Now the mud and the water are mixed together. So suddenly, you are aware of everything that was sitting at the bottom because now it's in your conscious awareness. And this is your unresolved past experiences, your childhood trauma, the beliefs that you've been carrying for years, shadow aspects of yourself, toxic behaviors. All of these things are now in your conscious awareness. And as a result, your mind becomes hyperactive, frantically trying to sort through all of this information and make sense of it. So it was always settled down in your mind at the bottom quietly, but now during your awakening, everything got mixed up together, came to the surface, and you are now aware of it. So now you're not only aware of the voice inside your head and the fact that you're separate from your thoughts, but you're also flooded with awareness of trauma you've avoided, fears you've ignored, beliefs you've never faced, and toxic behaviors you've never really looked at. And naturally, your mind freaks out. Your ego loses its excuse my expression, and you start having intrusive thoughts such as, what's going on with me? Am I losing my mind? Oh my gosh, I'm going crazy. I messed up. I must be a horrible person. I'm never gonna heal from this. I'm doomed forever. But here's the good news. You can find relief and quiet those thoughts with a simple but powerful practice. So this practice that I'm about to share with you has helped me and many of my clients when intrusive thoughts start spinning out of control. And I know exactly what it feels like to have these disturbing negative thoughts racing through your mind, because I used to feel for 3 years completely overwhelmed, like I was actually losing my mind. These thoughts would be so fast and so overwhelming that I didn't know what to do with it. And even though it's a spiritual awakening, and yes, spiritual awakening is a spiritual experience, it's important to remember that we are spiritual beings living inside human bodies. And these human bodies come with very real human brains that operate in certain predictable patterns. So the practice that I'm about to show you isn't an energetic or spiritual technique. Instead, it comes from psychology, and it's called cognitive diffusion. The main goal of cognitive diffusion is to stop fussing with your thoughts. In other words, you stop treating your thoughts as absolute truths and start seeing them for exactly what they are, just thoughts. So by using cognitive diffusion in different ways, what you do is that you interrupt the flow and the momentum of these intrusive thoughts, making them lose their grip on you and changing how they make you feel. But how can you actually use cognitive diffusion to break free from these intrusive thoughts? Let me show you the first way. When a thought like "I'll never heal" pops into your head, take a breath and imagine it playing in slow motion. So really slow it down, either silently in your mind, or even better, you can say it out loud in slow motion. I'll never heal. I know, it sounds silly, but that's exactly the point. So the first way to use cognitive diffusion is to slow down your thoughts and play it in slow motion, in your mind or out loud. And this makes it less believable and interrupts the spiral before it takes over. So you break the momentum and suddenly the thought loses its power. Another way to practice cognitive diffusion is by saying your intrusive thoughts out loud, but in a goofy or a silly voice. So, for example, try saying the thought in the voice of your favorite cartoon character like Donald Duck or Bugs Bunny or Elmo, or just come up with a new silly voice. So instead of seriously thinking, I'm losing my mind and I'm going crazy, try saying it in a goofy cartoon voice. I'm losing my mind and I'm going crazy. Okay, I realize that using a cartoon voice or a silly voice to say that you're going crazy might feel a little, crazy itself. But seriously, try it, because it's nearly impossible to take your intrusive thoughts seriously when you make them sound really silly. And that's exactly the point. You're creating distance between yourself and your thoughts. I'm never going to heal and I'm going crazy. Gosh, I feel crazy doing this and putting it on the internet. The third way to use cognitive diffusion is by singing your intrusive thoughts out loud. I think you're starting to see a pattern here. A great way to do it is by singing your thoughts to the tune of a familiar and a very simple song, such as Happy Birthday. So if you have a thought, I'm never gonna be okay, sing it to the tune of Happy Birthday. I'm never gonna be okay. I'm never gonna be okay. I'm never, ever, 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 ever gonna be okay. You see? So suddenly your intrusive thought actually feels like a catchy little jingle rather than a terrifying, scary crisis. And the thought might still be there, but now you're the one who's in charge and you're actively changing how it makes you feel. This cognitive diffusion technique has helped me many, many times and helps my clients deal with disturbing, negative, and overwhelming thoughts, and it can absolutely help you too. So next time you feel under attack by one of the voices in your head, remember, slow it down, use a goofy voice, or sing it. But if you still feel like you're struggling mentally and physically with your spiritual awakening and you aren't sure what to do, then make sure to watch this video next, where I show you 3 powerful habits that can make your awakening much easier.